Content warning. The following program contains smoking, potty mouth language, discussions of fictitious violence, and discussions of uncomfortable subjects. Viewer discretion is advised, and if you are one of the people that gets triggered by sensitive subject, I would recommend putting in blanks and maybe watching another stream. Isn't that fun? How you guys doing out there? I know. It's been a thing, all right? It's been a thing. And a lot of you guys, if you're watching right now, is like, where's he been? Where's all this stuff going? Well, I will tell you, okay? I will tell you flat out. It is now 5 minutes to 8 o'clock on Monday night. Happy Labor Day, everybody. You know, I used to make jokes like it's 105 degrees outside. My sister-in-law just melted and turned into a hat, or was wearing a hat. Now she's just a pile of goo with a hat. It's, 80,000 degrees. I know. Let's start a fire outside. Yeah, let's have a barbecue. But after the past few days in Southern California, I get it, y'all. I so get it. All right. I mean, I'm not really one for small talk. All right. But this has been like all I've had in my head whenever I went, Google, how hot is it outside? I've just got Sam Jackson from Do the Right Thing going, it's hot! I mean, seriously, that's it. That's all. Every single thermometer is just yelling at me in my house. I have to put them all in the deep freezer right next to the chicken wings. I'm never cooking because I'm allergic to chicken. Or not allergic, I just can't digest the thing. But anyway, so we're back, we're here, we're doing all that stuff. And if y'all want to contact us, please give us a little bit of contacting. You know, it is a little bit quiet in here. Let me just give you a tiny bit of sound effects with the quiet. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and there. Oh, yeah, so much better. So much better. All right, cool. Had to get that groove in. But yeah, give us a contact. Send us a letter or anything like that at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHE. Oh, wait. My mistake. That is. Oh, look at that. Clever little vixen just subscribed. All right. Yeah, just send us an email at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK@gmail.com. And of course, you can hit us up on so many other things like the social media that everybody has and no one likes, known as Instagram and Twitter. It's not a real place, but people treat it like it's a real place and all that stuff. Go ahead and follow us on TikTok. You know, I had planned on making a whole lot more puppet videos, but here in the studio, it has averaged to 112 degrees inside, which is why we have not been live at 3 o'clock today, because my cameras and recording equipment have been hot to the touch. And if you want to know a little bit more about that, and you're part of that wretched hive of scum and villainy known as Facebook, join Deckers on the Book, guys. It's the group that we have. It's where I give away so much stuff like modules and rules to game books and all that other stuff. But now that we got all that stuff, I want to say hey and what's up to my patrons, because it's that time of the month, and it's the time of the month that I look forward to. So what's going on? Laura Holden, Shaylee Watson, Jennifer Kroll, Noel Allheiler, Glenn Couch, Christopher Chalmers, Joseph Hines. What is going on? And welcome to C24, or should I say Warp Tumblers C24, but we're not running the game today because it is hot. It is super hot. I took out my notes for today's game, and real talk, the ink melted. It melted and it ran off the freaking table. And I'm like, all right, guys, where you guys are, it's at least 20 degrees hotter for you than it is for me. Are you guys really up for gaming, or y'all just want to talk? And they're like, well, I can kind of be up for gaming, but no, there's stuff going on, so let's talk and all that stuff. So let us introduce the Warp Tumblers. All right, welcome C24 crew. Woo! How y'all doing out there?
a
like,
cat trying to steal my water.
yeah, right. Oh man, so yep.
Very good. Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
So yeah, we got Xanathades going on. What's going on, Xanath? Firing up the old grill beats heating up the house with the stove. You are so right. Oh my god. Yeah, that's real talk. That is really real talk. So I wanted to say hey and what's up and all that, but I don't like the way that I look here, so I'm gonna fix that. So while we're at it, we will start right here. You guys know her. You guys love her. You guys, well, how can I put this? The one that has been on the channel for the longest time. Coming at us straight from somewhere in California. Say hello to Rowdy Rebecca Pena. How you doing, girl? What's up?
Hey everybody, what's going on? What's going on? This is Rowdy Rebecca Pena coming to you guys from the planet Earth. I'm just gonna keep going further and further out, just like a reverse Google Maps.
From planet Earth. Okay, yeah, no,
That's totally a normal human thing to say, right?
Yeah, totally. That is totally a normal human thing.
It's great to be here.
Awesome. And right under there, bringing in the new co-host that I will name for the show, or whatever the co-host name is, I'm not quite sure, but playing the role of ratings gimmick. You guys know them as Raider, the cleric who doesn't have a tragic backstory. Say hello to Cass.
Definitely no tragic backstory here. This is Cake Pop, my co-star, who is trying to currently steal my water. And for that, she gets to come on air. Hello.
It's so cute.
Fantastic. And showing up today, you guys know her, you guys love her, the proprietor. Yeah, the proprietor of, oh my god, I am so tired. You see what I mean? This is like me trying to do the whole thing and I'm like, god, I can't think. I can't think. But now you guys know her and love her as the proprietor of the Pocket Dragon Pub. And various other podcasts, including the online running of The Curse of Strahd that recently started within the past month. Appearing as a self-proclaimed swamp hag because, in her world, hags are, honestly not gray-skinned and full of wrinkles. They're just a little moist. Say hello to Vixabelle Cosplay. How you doing?
Hey everybody, my name is Vixabelle or Vivian, and yes, I am the proprietor of the Pocket Dragon Pub. It's another Twitch channel here on Twitch for my D&D adventures, and as well as participating here as a part of the Work Tumblers crew, which I'm very happy with this, group of friends who are currently getting drunk in a tavern somewhere. We'll find out about that later, I'm sure. We're going to come back next session and they're all just taking shots. LMFAO is playing in the background. So,
yeah.
But yeah.
Awesome.
So that's pretty much me.
Very nice.
Happy to be here.
Awesome and blossom. So instead of running the game today, guys, I reached out to you and I'm like, okay, what is going on? What can we do? What is going on? And I'm like, there's been some stuff. There has been some stuff that has come down the road from D&D and in the role-playing world and in the tabletop miniatures world, just in the gaming stuff in total. And I love doing my talk show Monday through Friday, but I love having conversation with real people. We even lost one. It's like, okay, yeah, we're talking. Bye, I'm out. Next time you do that, you have to yell smoke bomb. Okay. But yeah, you don't have to do that. I don't expect you to be as wacky as I am. But yeah, and of course, we haven't talked.
It would be entertaining, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and besides yelling smoke bomb, that's more your thing, Rowdy. You're the weird one. But yeah, and of course one of them were able to show up to Decker Day, so I'm like, yeah, let's talk about Decker Day. Let's talk about stuff going on in the role play world. There has been a lot, and I love having conversations with people as much as I love talking at y'all for an hour a day. Since my former co-host is one of the main players of this, I'm like, you know what, let's have a bit of a talk show. Let's talk about this stuff. So I want to have, you know, when I say roundtable discussion, it makes me feel like Bill Maher, and I don't really like being compared to that. So like on my channel, my friend's channel, Nerd Soul, we like having barbershop talks. Okay, just barbershop talks. And for those of you guys not part of the African American community, barbershop talk or beauty shop talk is all that stuff you talk when you're with your people in the barbershop where somebody's getting their hair cut, but really we're just hanging out for the day. It's that kind of thing. Not to be confused with counter monkeying, okay? Because if we're at the game store, we try and talk about stuff that's going on in the gaming world, but it always comes down to, well, actually, I had one character this one time, and, you know, that's not really where we're going on that today. So I want to open up the discussion because there's been a thing, and it's been reflective of something that's been real in the tabletop role-playing world for decades, and it came out again recently, and it's kind of silly, okay? And when I say silly, I just mean like you would honestly and truly think that by this point in history, people would have, what's the term I'm looking for, they would have at least just a little bit more, not sensitivity, but just a little bit more sense. I don't even want to say common sense. I want to say marketing sense. If you guys are not aware, okay, because there's been a thing that happened in the D&D world that has kind of rocked things. As you guys know, Wizards of the Coast just recently released Spelljammer, okay? And I want to put this out there real quick, all right? As a person who was playing a long time ago, Spelljammer is not D&D sci-fi, okay? It is not science fiction, it is science fantasy. You fly your ship with spell slots, you've got undead skeletons, flying ships, you're still casting spells, and you're not in space, you are in between the realms, all right? But there are different planets and different universe things and all that stuff, so it's science fantasy. Actually, it's like just spacefaring fantasy and stuff. And there are some upsides and downsides. I want to talk about three major things today. One, game mechanics. Okay, there are some game mechanics that are there that people that have been a little point of contention, and I've got my thoughts on it, but I want to know other people's thoughts on it because I spend a lot of time by myself, so I know what I think. And the first game mechanic I want to talk about with you guys is their ship combat. Okay, there's they have some weird and interesting mechanics on ships. Have you guys looked at that at all?
I'm gonna be totally honest. I am a bit in the dark about Spelljammer. It's just not a property that ever appealed to me.
That's fair. How about you, Vivian?
I actually am not as familiar with the spaceship mechanics in Spelljammer. I do know the premise of it, but I haven't really had an opportunity to really look at the module super in depth. I do know that a lot of the races were released as Unearthed Arcana for a bit, but not all of them.
Okay. Well, Rowdy?
I haven't had a chance to look at that, actually.
That's fine. That's fine. Again, it's not your guys' job to be on top of this. It's mine. And one of the things that people have been complaining about, and this is something I hear a lot, okay, is space combat doesn't go the way they imagine, and their mechanics have some good stuff, some bad stuff. Now, as you guys know, I run a game called Esper Genesis, which is actual sci-fi for 5th edition D&D. And they have ship mechanics, which are interesting. There's a lot of deck rolls and ship things like that. But one of the things that people have been complaining about is something that's been coming up in games for a long time. Some folks say, now, Spelljammer does not use the ship rules from Saltmarsh, nor does it use the car rules from Avernus. It uses something in between. Because when you have your ship in Spelljammer, it is assumed that you have NPCs, and some people want them to work in the same way the space game Artemis works, which is closer to running a capital ship via Star Trek style, where everyone has a position and they're doing their thing. Like the captain is yelling and screaming orders, and the engineer is doing their thing, and the gunners are doing their thing. Which is very close to the car rules, the off-road buggy rules of Descent into Avernus. Okay. And I've seen this argument for a long time. And what I find, and this comes down to a little bit of a preview from when it's cool enough for me to go back on in the daytime, is having the courage to let a game be what it was designed to be. Some folks like capital ship combat, which is very much the seafaring thing of bring her about to port, get her in the right place, now load the cannons. And some people like fighter combat. Okay. And when I say fighter combat, I mean, what are you doing, Maverick? I'm bringing him in closer. You're going to do what? Slam on the brakes, he'll fly right by. You know, you got Bob Seger playing in the background. You know, you're going into the danger zone. And what Spelljammer doesn't seem to do is decide on which one is which. Because when you're looking at seafaring battles, barges and tall ships, they move very slowly and they're not very maneuverable. But thanks to George Lucas and Star Wars, he brought dogfighting in space with ships that are bigger than fighters, and that's what 3 generations of people want to do. So what I would say on that is just let the game be the game, and relax just a bit, guys. Just relax a bit. Hang on, I'm gonna change the color or something real quick and take us to our normal thing here. Because, yeah, I actually like our Warp Tumblers, what's the term I'm looking for? I like our graphic, okay? Our graphic is neat. I like neat things. So, yeah, so I'm definitely up there with just have the courage to play games as they were designed, and see if you like it from there before doing the, oh my God, it sucks type thing. Because, yeah, that's what people do. Now, it's funny. I am what people call unapologetically black in the sense of, look, this is just how I am. This is the way my culture is and all of that jazz. But with that being said, I want to inform some people of a couple of things that they may not be aware of. Okay. And, oh, hey, Lily Bubbles 10, what's going on? So yeah, or Lily Bubbles 310. So one of the things I wanted to inform folks of is within circles in the black community, okay, as you were, or as it were, it's not very well known that people in my community, in my neighborhood, in my family, we're not that big on Planet of the Apes movies. Okay. And there's a reason for that. Long time ago in the times of segregation and upfront prejudice, where some people believed that you could only wash your sheets in laundromats because they had great big signs that said white only. Yeah, it's a joke, I know, but it's a thing.
Oh, you want me to listen to you?
What was that? Who said that? Well, huh? There was a voice that
Hey.
came in from nowhere.
Yeah. It was
Oh,
I have, like the master of puppets over here.
okay.
He's wondering if I want him to also watch the stream. And of course, yes.
Yes. Yes, watch the stream. Log into the stream. Watch it. Comment. Subscribe. Bring your friends. Tell them to subscribe. But yeah, so, and back in those days, one of the pejoratives, and a lot of people think there's only one bad word to call a group of people, but I'll let you guys know, hateful people have lexicons. Lexicons, all right? Where I grew up in LA, there were at least 4 derogatory terms for Latinos, 4 for Asians, lots of different things like that. And there are scrolls. There are scrolls of names that black people have been called that are derogatory. But one of the big ones are apes and monkeys. All right. So with that being said, we kind of look at the movies like Planet of the Apes through a different filter. Okay. It's like, wow, a dystopian future where people aren't welcomed and that's a bad thing. And look, it's run by apes. Yeah. And the fact that that's painted to be a bad thing, we're feeling a certain kind of way. But with that being said, and I have to bring that out there, Spelljammer, I can't say they dropped the ball. Okay, I really can't. Would you guys say that they dropped the ball on this one? Be honest.
I do think that they dropped the ball on this.
Yeah. It's the fact that they've had to apologize how many times in the last few years for racism, and they haven't figured out that a sensitivity reader is a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah. Real talk.
Almost like they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, real talk.
They're doing it for the clicks. Oh God.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say they dropped the ball on this one, to tell you the God's honest truth. I would say they spiked it. They literally just got there and boom, and they did a little dance like, woo, we did something new and creative. And it was like, I'm sorry, what? Because we do live in a different century. And how can I put this lightly? And this is me trying to be as gracious as possible, so please understand. But I have a lot of friends that are not black. A lot of friends that don't understand the nuances of racism or sexism or homophobia or transphobia or misogyny. They only know the overviews. Like, they don't quite understand the difference between doing a racism and being racist, or doing a sexism and being sexist, that kind of thing. So with this, they created a race of flying monkey people. And I could see flying monkey people in space. I'm like, you know what? Let's hear them out. Okay. Because just because the term for simians is a derogatory term, that doesn't mean that simians don't exist. So what are you going to do to put monkeys in space? Let's take a look. Oh, you're going to make them eugenically modified against their will, and then you're going to make them born against their will and then sold to other people as property in a spacefaring thing that's based a lot on sea travel. And you're going to have them have mutinies, and you're going to have them not taken seriously. What are you going to do next? Put an intelligence cap on them? Like, the sensitivity reader that these guys just brought up is essentially somebody that reads over this stuff going, I believe you're not intentionally being an asshole, but can you sing a C over C sharp for me real quick? Ah, that's a G minor. Yeah, that's tone deaf. Really, really tone deaf. And I think that was a matter of being tone deaf in this case. I'm right there with you, Cass, on they've had to apologize a lot for racism over the past 10 years, and it might be time for them to actually learn what it was. Feel free to jump in, anybody.
Yeah, don't forget that another part of the Hadozi lore is the worship of elves. How they happily and lovingly serve the elves and all that. That was
Yeah.
probably the nail on the coffin for me. I was like, no.
Because here's the thing, right? I had this GM for a campaign that I only got a couple sessions into because of scheduling things, but we still talk.
Mm-hmm.
And when one D&D came out, I brought up the fact that like they haven't really changed the racism among classes. Among races, they've just taken the words out and left everything else the same.
Mm-hmm.
And we got into it about, well, there haven't been racial alignments since, I don't even remember which book, but it's something barely 5th edition. It was so early. And I was like, okay, cool. And then we get this, which is the other side of the drow coin. It's the same thing.
Yep.
You worship the elves that in most campaigns, let's be honest, because we're D&D nerds and we love grimdark stuff, for the most part, they're going to bring back the drow, and they're going to bring, the Gith and everyone else into this as well. But they're going to bring back the drow because, well, the lore's already there. There's already books that have it. So why homebrew something when there's already books that have it that can be easily translated to 5th edition?
Now, I'm kind of glad that you brought that up, because the Hardozi did exist in Spelljammer before. And way back in 2nd edition, before any of y'all were born, and I was rolling D20s asking what a Thaco was, they had these flying monkey people. And the flying monkey people had a really cool attack, which was essentially a death from above. They could be like, yeah, boom, I'm a monkey, yeah, And given the fact that I learned how to play them when one of my favorite cartoons was on the air, it was literally called Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys. Like seriously, it was Joss Whedon's Firefly, but starring different species of apes, and they were all coded very Caucasian, so that kind of made it okay for me, because white people being called monkeys as a pejorative was never a thing. And I'm like, yeah, this is all right. Yeah, doing Spelljammer like Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys. Like I want Spider, which is like the Joe Pesci kind of monkey, and they had like the Nathan Fillion captain before Nathan Fillion was a thing, because this was 1989 and he was still on soap operas. It was kind of a thing. But they had that stuff out there, and it wasn't nearly as problematic, and it made me wonder, whose idea was it to rewrite the origin that was already there? That's my question. Like, excuse me. Now, I'm glad you brought up the drow coin, Cass, because I've always had a problem with the drow. Always had a problem. It's like, look, they're elves, but their skin is black. And it's like, okay, what else you got? Oh, they live in the Underdark. They're all evil. They worship an evil spider goddess, and they take slaves. And I'm like, so the first time you made a dark-skinned race, first you made them evil, and then you made them slavers? So is this your way of kind of going, this is what people that look like me should do? Like, I'm not quite, or is this what you're afraid we're gonna do? Like what's going on? What's going on with that? And the biggest apologetics came in the early 21st century with the Forgotten Realms book starring Drizzt, because he was so awesome and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, he was the exception to the rule. Because drow or dro or however you pronounce it was always looked at as bad. And I have to ask a question, and this is a really big one. Like, there is a line that was crossed with the Hardozi, a really big line that was crossed. Okay. So would it have been better if they had worshipped elves and were created to be slaves, but were lizard people? Would it have been better if they were slaves and still apes? Would it have been better if they were apes that worshipped elves but were never held as slaves? Like, is it one thing that's so bad? Is it two things that's so bad? Or, you know, we know all three makes it bad, but where could they have steered the ship in a different direction?
They could have made a race of plant people. That would have made so much more sense, considering like the natural bonds that elves have with their surroundings, right? Like that would have made more sense. Like, you know, I vibe really well around these elf creatures. I like them, right?
Okay.
We're just symbiotic or what have you, right? That would have made much more sense. Other than like, why did it have to just be like, who asked for this?
The fact that we don't have a canon plant-based race at this point is insane to me.
Right?
Especially with Lord of the Rings, like you'd think we'd at least have like some Ents or something.
Okay. A planet of Trent. Yeah.
But honestly, in my opinion, slavery and slavers don't need to be a part of D&D lore, because the DMs are going to do that depending on how they're running their world anyway. Six different people can run Faerun, and all six are going to have different ideas for which races would have been enslaved. Because
it also depends on your session zero too. Yeah, like because some people don't want to talk about that, and they'll tell you in their session zero. So,
and I mean, this is my personal like homebrew thing that I always put into my Faerun campaigns. But when you take elf or half elf as your race, you get Fae ancestry, because the elves are descended from the Fae. Okay, cool. So in my campaigns, there's always an evolution where it went, you know, Fae, elf, and then half elf, whatever. But above Fae is celestial. So you could have had them worship the Fae or the celestials just as easily.
Okay.
The celestials would have even made more sense because you're going between planes, and maybe that's the best one that they've found so far, so they believe that they're gods. Like, it wouldn't have been hard.
Okay. See, I really like these suggestions, and this is really why I like to have these discussions, not just thing bad, but what could have been done instead of thing bad. I'm definitely there, because, you know, I ask a lot of these questions, and, you know, I don't really normally talk about race or politics or anything like that on this channel. Okay, that's for our meeting tomorrow night down by the docks. Make sure you got your COVID test going and wear your mask. Not for COVID reasons, but in case we get raided, you want to make sure you're not made. So, you know, my mask looks like Sub-Zero. No.
Excellent. Finish him.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, I think about this thing, and for those of you guys that aren't quite sure what we're talking about or why, of course I had to bring receipts. All right, this is one of the things I had to do. So let's take a look at these guys real quick. Just quick look at these guys. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah, we got the hard dozy, known as deck apes. They were simian humanoids. Huh?
Was Deck Apes the original name in second edition?
Yes, no, Hardozy was their original name, but Deck Ape is their nickname. Their nom de plume, as it were. Their colloquial, their colloquial, what is the, yes, their colloquial thing, like in 40K, they're not dwarves, they're squats, because, that's what they do. So what we got over here, as I said, hang on, let me just get this better. All right, so, where their nickname described them as apes, they're taller and skinnier than apes. Hardozy were covered in fur, of all varieties of brown, from light tawny to dark chocolate. It was so thick that they really had no great need to wear clothing. Their faces are surrounded by a shaggy mane. Hardosi had no tails. Their feet were fully prehensile, complete with opposing thumbs. Let's see. They have patagial wing flaps, much like a bat or a flying squirrel, which I'm not gonna lie, is kind of cool. Moderately stooped posture. Around 6 feet tall when they stand fully upright. Some of them can be as tall as 7 feet. So we got all that stuff, but yeah, let's take a look at some of these guys. Like, hey, yeah, all right, that's not horrible. It's not a thing. Actively curious. We're unquenchable optimists. Later, this latter quality lent itself to the tendency of making good humor jokes, even in desperate circumstances, though some could have had a darker, bitter sense of humor, at least when it suited the situation. They were very expressive, intensely so, whether the situation, they are whether laughing or loudly whooping and having a good time. Okay, so I'm gonna pause right there. I'm gonna pause right there because anyone who's ever seen Showtime at the Apollo knows where this is going. You know. Oh man, Vivian, you look like you're literally about to explode. You're like,
I'm already having a migraine. Like just reading through this lore again is like,
yeah,
my God, so
yeah.
Well,
You
and
know.
you know what's funny is that we talk about it's so funny to me because there are so many great references in mythos for this type of race. You have Sun Wukong, who's like this amazing mythical character who is a monkey, who is like this incredible, like unbeatable hero who has so much like positivity around him. You have Hanumanji, who is this incredible monkey warrior. Look at these great heroes, mythical heroes, people that you could have taken inspiration from and pulled all these really cool, super awesome things from. But no, let's go. And you know what? No, we read Uncle Tom's Cabin and we want to use that instead.
Yeah.
And like
Twitching.
it's not even like they don't know how to do it, right? I mean, how many iterations did tieflings go through to make them they became less racist as time went on. It's not like they haven't done this before and they just chose to go the opposite direction.
And even with the drow, like even with the drow, you now have like you had the cult of Lolth and you had like the evil drow that we know and went what the hell with, and then you ended up getting a variant race called the Seldarine drow, and then they're not evil and now like they're not evil at all. Now they can be any alignment you want, so they can fix this or like fix their mistakes, but they actively chose to make this as inflammatory as possible.
And like,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
It wasn't bad entirely, right? Like I can see that they're trying to base it off of the animal of the monkey, which fine, whatever, you do you. At least you're not slavers or, you know, worshiping your slavers. But even so, they're not consistent with their own lore in those 2 pages we've just read. Sitting here talking about how thick their fur is, they don't need to be clothed. And then the next picture shown of them, they're in full leather armor and trousers. Armor, I would excuse because AC needs to get higher. But then you put them in trousers. Then you gave them leather straps to carry all this stuff. And
Do
it's
those
like, okay,
pants give you more AC? I gotta know. You know?
Like, do the pants give you AC? No, probably not. Those are like linen to me. Be consistent with your own lore. Because if you don't, then when people start looking at it because they're like, I don't love the fact that you've made a monkey race instead of even a Sasquatch race.
It's possible,
I know
but they just were not on the same page about what was supposed to be going down there. Like, I feel like there's this kind of disconnect. You are right, though. Sorry.
I feel like it was rushed out. Because, you know, when they were sent this art, they probably sent back edits for the first couple of times. Just take away the pants. Just take away the pants. When we start looking at it too deeply, it's like, oh, not only is it problematic, but it's collapsing in on itself.
Okay.
Like, we can already tell that there was very little care put into this race as opposed to things like the elves, where even Drow got their, like, mirror double in the moon elf.
Right.
It's like, oh, look, there's another dark-skinned elf, and they worship the moon. They're cool. They're fine.
Now, this is actually something that that I have been wrestling with, okay? Because it harkens back to what you said at the beginning of the showcast, that this these people have been apologizing over and over and over again for the same offense, okay? And one of the things that I see, all right, and this is something that I see in a lot of creators, i.e. the need for sensitivity readers and sensitivity translators, is it seems as though creators of a lot of these things are so disconnected from American culture that they don't quite see where these things, the racism, the misogyny, the transphobia, all the stuff that makes things problematic these days, they don't see where it's baked into the culture, in the sense of, I would never run things like this, even if I don't know, and it makes me wonder, like, I've spoken a few times about why I don't play clerics, and that was because for years, every time I was playing a cleric, when I played him with a Catholic flair, the GMs and the players were like, but as soon as I went Southern Baptist, I always ended up being the most favored character in the show. And it reminded me of working on a railroad where the supervisor would come up and ask me to sing one of those songs, and I'd be like, I get no kick from champagne, and they're like, no, that's not what I mean, and it really is kind of like one of those things of, there is a background history of what makes these things problematic. Okay, there is a background history of, I guess you could say, like, I don't want to use the O word because it's being overused these days, okay? Because everything is oppressive these days. But there is a very big history of antagonism that comes with its own lexicon and its own history that it seems people don't quite remember or see the context in, in this day and age, where it's like, oh, wait, that's still a thing. Yes, it's still a thing. It's still a thing. And if you had taken just a half a moment to just think about it or to research it, you would see that a good amount of your audience is upset by this. And a bigger part of your audience is upset that people are upset at this. I'm not really on the politically correct train and all that other stuff. I have opinions about a lot of that stuff. But one thing I gotta say is, listen to the people that are saying, hey, this hurts because my family. This hurts because my history. This hurts because my thing, and they don't really stop and think that. It comes down to the defending an individual or defending opinions of oneself. When they do something that makes someone else uncomfortable, they're fighting for the decency of their own character versus the impact of the event that happened. I'm sure everyone here has heard someone say how not sexist they are, or how not racist they are, or how much they're good people. And it's like, I'm not questioning that. I'm saying you did a thing that had a negative impact. And with this, it's like, well, I apologize for doing it. I apologize for doing it. It's like, okay, that's great. Not that the apology isn't accepted. In truth, I don't really think that Wizards of the Coast cares whether or not anyone accepts their apology. I think they care about the bad press they would have got for not saying the apology. But, again, I'm all gray-bearded and I'm always fighting not to be a grognard. But the question is, how can this not happen again? How can we get away from this? Because I think the modern runners of Wizards of the Coast and a lot of gaming companies have a hard time believing how many isms and ists existed within this space before the 21st century, and how much is still there. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Truthfully, I want to know who their audience is, their test audience, or whoever they're researching from, because it just, the level of ignorance that they've shown, and the more, and then, but also saying that, like, we've spoken to our, to our fans. Who are you talking to? Because you keep making the same mistakes, the same ones over and over again. I want to know that. And then they talk again, there's all this conversation surrounding diversity, but then you release something like the Hadozi, and you're just like, that's not diverse, that's offensive. Like, who are you talking to? Like, maybe do actual research on a culture, if that's something you want to pull from, and showcase it in a positive educational light. This isn't like, this is D&D isn't a unique sphere, because it is essentially a game of pretend. You can pretend to be whoever you want, but to be able to do so in a way that is healthy and constructive and educational takes a lot of time and creativity to construct. But if you can do that, then you've now created this magical experience. You've opened up a whole world to someone whose world has been maybe just, the whatever education that they've had up to now. So that's kind of the way that I would approach it, I guess.
Okay.
From a creative standpoint, as like a writer, like that's one of my two big things that I do for a living. I would say they need to start looking at more modern mythology, and especially mythology twisting. One of the biggest social media books that has come out recently is called Iron Widow.
I was so close to singing poorly in a very loud and obnoxious manner.
So it's the Iron Widow. And she was a TikTok author who blew up and got on the New York Times bestseller list. This author is fully Chinese, full-blooded. And when I say that this is very much an author of her time, her author photo on the back of the book is her in Naruto cosplay. And the book is a twist on the legend of the first woman empress. Except then she added Gundams and made her polyamorous and made her absolutely feral, to the point where you're wondering a lot of the time if this is even the person you should be rooting for. And it's a phenomenal piece of work.
It sounds like you're pitching a show for AMC. Truth be told.
And it's a 400-page novel that made the New York Times bestseller list with a polyamorous woman of color in a historical fiction, science fiction context. That would not have happened 30 years ago. That wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. So what they need to do is stop trying to push out editions and extra content every 2 months, so that every 2 or 3 months they get this giant burst in revenue of all the people that have the legendary pack on D&D Beyond, because let's be honest, those are the only people keeping up anymore. And start actually looking at what their main demographics are reading, are watching, are listening to, because now podcasts are a thing, and story-based podcasts are huge. Because there are ways to do it. Like, they took something that happened in history, such as slavery, such as foot binding in the case of this book, didn't downplay the horror of it, and still made it into a functional world of its own. That's what D&D is trying to do when they modernize the times. But every time they do, they just go off of what, let's be honest, the 15 white people in the room that are actually sitting in the writer's room have heard about in their lives, as opposed to saying, well, we're going to try to make up for all of the Eastern stories that we put out over the years by introducing a Chinese writer, introducing a Thai writer, a Filipino writer, a Japanese writer. We're not going to have a black person, not one black person in the room when we write these monkey people. We learned our lesson. We're fine. Because that's what they're saying, right? Like it's not like they're walking into this thinking, oh, we're totally not being racist. They're like, we're updating it to fit the times. But my times are on Facebook, and that's where I get my news.
That's a really interesting point. Rowdy, you're being a little quiet over there.
I'm just still so disappointed that I haven't played a plant person yet. Like, there's so many other options that there are to choose from. Like, why that specifically? It doesn't make any sense to me.
If you need inspiration to build your own race, I would say read the Aurora Cycle books.
Ooh.
3 books, and they are all about a hive mind race of alien succulents.
Oh my
Hey, there you
gosh.
go. Well,
love that.
It's amazing.
but we actually, in one of the games I'm in, we actually do have a race of plant people. My very dear close friend Bex plays a lovely tree named Alder.
Oh my
And
gosh.
they go on walkabouts because it's set in the Feywild, so we were just like a whole bunch of random crap can happen. And our DM was like, tree person. That's what we're going with, and it's great. So they do exist in the homebrew world. Just again, who are you talking to on D&D? Because it ain't us.
Right?
We don't need monkey people. We already have shifters.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Give me an ent. Give
Yeah.
me a mushroom person.
Right.
I don't know. You start introducing mushroom people, and then you get Italian fighters that wear overalls. It's a slippery slope.
And why not?
Circle of Spores Druid, but I get what you're saying. Can you imagine Circle of Spores Druid that is actually a mushroom?
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Sentient fungi for the win.
And they're amazing. They're very compatible with Spore Druid.
Yes.
So
I
unnecessary.
love this. This is fantastic. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. I'm really excited. This is like the silver lining to this like terrible situation. I'll be real about that. Okay. I'm just like I'll use that as my little highlight of just like, yeah, this situation sucks, but there was this really cool thing that happened just now. Right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, no, it's a really interesting thing because I've been GMing for a lifetime, actually. And creating new races, creating new planets, that's part and parcel when it comes to GMing if you do it for more than 5 years. Excuse me, especially when you have competitive PCs. Or like, I'll only play a game with you if I can read the source material that you're reading. I'm like, I'm writing my own. And, you got to throw a thing in there every once in a while. Personally, I'm with Cass in the sense of we know that slavery happened. We don't really need it in our fiction. And when I say slavery, I mean every model of slavery, from the Roman model to the indentured servitude model to the chattel model, to apartheid, to all that other stuff. I never quite dug it that it was like in the game, specifically when you have so many magical people running around. An unseen servant is a spell. Call me crazy. It's like, I can cast a thing to do yard work and I'm good with that. Because in a world where you have Mr. Meeseeks, you really don't need anybody out there picking your cotton and singing songs. But that's always been my thing. But when it comes to creating different races or world building and things like that, there are a lot of things that you have to take into concept. There's an old song called I Could Write a Book based on a statement that was made, that was a standard piece of the American lexicon in the 1950s and 60s, meaning I could write a book about it, which means I know what the hell I'm talking about. I know so much about this subject, I could write a book. And what it looks like we're seeing is that there's a lot of people writing books that don't know. It's like, I could write a book. No, okay, yes, technically you can write a book, but, a bunch of words in pages that are bound does not a book make. So, real talk. If you hear this, Mr. Crawford and stuff like that, or any game developers out there, if you plan on taking stuff from cultures or you're trying to create a different culture, if nothing else, all right, if you don't want to spend the money, then just go to the local junior college and sit in on the studies class. You know, just run it past a couple of grad students. You know, I mean, if y'all got unpaid internships, this would be a good place to have your intern read the thing, going, yeah, I don't think that would fly very well. You know, like, yeah, I see all this Mesoamerican stuff. Why are their backs perpetually slippery? That's not a good look. You know, or all right, we've got like an Eastern thing going. If you're gonna have them have different words for their medicine, you really need to tread lightly. All right, if they're working on elements instead of organs, you need to talk to my friend Zhao over here. You know, just kind of that thing. A little bit of research goes a long way. What I always recommend to people is, like I said, listen to the people who are actually offended, and don't just let them talk, but listen, ask questions, engage. You know, and listen to the answers that you're given, because uncomfortable conversations. Well, I come from an amazing family. Okay, my bloodline are monsters. Okay, we could take over the world if we set our minds to it. We just tend to have very little ambition. And what my great grandmother used to tell me quite a lot, okay, other than keep on living. And take what you got and make what you want out of it. All right, is don't be so busy knowing everything that you can't learn nothing. You know. And in regards to this one, there is no such thing as growth without pain. And in the 21st century, we're taught risk aversion. We're not taught pain management, and we're taught if something becomes awkward, uncomfortable, painful, or anything other than blah or pleasurable, to avoid it at all cost. So I warn you now, when you avoid pain and when you avoid discomfort, there is a very high chance that you are avoiding growth. And when that happens, you tend to create races that are slaves, that aren't very well intelligent, that are made after monkeys, which was a major pejorative of, you know, a part of your audience. Or you might end up making hook-nosed, funny talking merchants that are always trying to cheat people out of good deals. Or you end up creating a race of laborers that speak two languages at the same time, and they can understand each other, but the people around them can't quite get that either. i.e., what people in middle America who have never been to a big city thinks of people that don't look like them. And if that's the audience that you're writing for, and this is me giving a little bit of respect to people that I will never support financially. This is me giving a little bit of respect to the OSR community. All right. We've got one of the Gygax boys out there, wearing his racism like a freaking badge of honor. Okay. And his spinoff to Spelljammer, where quite literally he does everything other than drop the N-bomb. He actually drops the little N-bomb with his race of Negroes versus his race of Nordics. It's out there. Google it. It's a big thing. Okay, and I'm like, you know, it doesn't surprise me. He's an old white guy from Wisconsin. And that was just baked into their infrastructure. So they're wearing it like a freaking badge, and they're unapologetic about it. So yeah, I know what not to spend my money on and what to ask you guys not to spend your money on. And we can, you know, I'm very much a live and let live, except for the people that want other folks to die. So it's a thing. So on to a happier note. As you guys know, last Saturday was Decker Day. Ha ha, Decker Day. It was a day of fun and games for the family. There was really kicking Italian food. There were games, there was fellowship, there were families that were there that were playing, and I really want to thank all the people who showed up. Now, Rowdy was there. What were your thoughts on it? You weren't there for the whole time, but you know, you were smart enough to show up once the shade got there. So.
You know what? I was actually I was really impressed by everything that I saw. Like, okay, I'm not trying to blow smoke nowhere, okay? But hear me out.
Blowing smoke is my job.
Really? Okay, so one of the things that I ended up walking away with was a copy of Red Dragon, and it was a board game. I already knew I was gonna possibly invest in something. I had to have a person with me to just be like, no, no more than one. Have it, right? But it was just kind of fun to have a game like that be accessible and to just kind of demo it out for it was kind of nice. There was also these little paint and tape things that were prepared, and I was really impressed by these things. I don't know if you've shown them already or if you have pictures of them, but there are these little things that are made out of paper craft foam, right?
Now,
Right?
I will do that for the audience. All right,
Yes!
I will do that for the audience, but that means you're gonna have to keep talking till I come back. All right.
Okay. All right. So I don't know how long this took him to do, but honestly, these little pieces, they look like little columns that are stuck on top of each other with bricks, and they're cut and they're textured, right? It's really interesting because I look at this and I'm like, oh, that's actually really nice. That's a really nice miniature thing, right? That you could use for a tabletop or whatever you have going on, right? But I'm not sure where they are, but I also noticed that there is all these little paintbrushes and paints that were accessible to go on, and I just thought it was kind of neat to kind of have that, right? There were a couple of kids that I saw, and it kind of seemed in my mind I was just kind of okay, there's a lot of adults here, right? So I didn't 100% know what the level of entertainment was going to be like, but it was pretty family friendly from what I saw, right? It was really cool. I think it was this little boy who's super cute, very curious, right? He's just looking at all the tabletop miniatures that were set up in this area.
You're
great.
talking, yeah, that's Nerd Soul Light.
Oh,
I do a cast with his father on Sundays. We're actually currently talking about the War of the Ring. And yeah, he is the world's best ratings gimmick. Because he is unfortunately too cute. Too
yes.
cute.
Oh my gosh. And very persuasive, okay? He was pew! Invisible shotgun ray, and I was immediately, I had no choice. I couldn't resist.
Yeah. What she was talking about for the paint and take was let me head back to the regular Wizard's Tower. There we go. Yeah. We made up a bunch of these, all right, for the paint and take. Yeah, pillars and stuff like that. Little lighthouse, because I like play sets, and I know I'm not the only one. So yeah, we made up a couple of these. All right, we made up 160 of these, and they fit together to make your little castle keep type thing. For the people to come by and paint and take with them and show them that this stuff wasn't hard. So yeah, I mean, it was some fun stuff. I still have a bunch left over. So many left over. So much foam.
For the next Decker Day.
Maybe. I think the next Decker Day we're going to be doing hills.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, giving away hills and
cool.
stuff like that, because they don't take as long to make. Yeah, but we'll see. It all depends on if I can get my flock formula down. But yeah, so it was a fun day. It was a fun day, and the food was on hit. I was very happy with the food, and Oh man. Sorry, just a little gassy. I'm old. What do you want? So yeah, I was very happy. I was very happy with the turnout. I was very happy that you had fun. I was very happy that you had fun. I wanted more people to enjoy it so that they could see that this isn't just about a bunch of college kids in their dorm rooms or old guys that like playing with train sets, who wear shorts and shirts that are so small it only shows their pot belly, with their balding ponytails, saying that it's the worst game ever. You know. Yeah, and yeah, we definitely had a good time and all that stuff. So, you know, just a little outdoor mini expo. I still want to give a major shout out to Jeremiah Gusha, Xanathades, D.W. McCann, and those were the three who were actually out of state and sponsored 3 tickets. And that was very, very cool. Yeah, that was very cool, just to keep the stuff out there going and all that jazz. So, you know, this is us putting in the work, you know, and, you know, we might do another one. We might do another one before the end of the year. If we do, and this is where I want you guys in the chat to speak up. If we do another Decker Day, I'm thinking between November 1st and Halloween, if we do it, because one, it's cooler, and there's nothing happening during that time. So post Thanksgiving, or post Halloween and pre Thanksgiving. I don't know. What do you guys think? It's one of those things. So. Oh, you know, I mistook your shirt for a minute there, Vivian. I thought you were going, oh. I'm like, oh, no, that's just a Sun and Moon thing.
No, if it's a Sun and Moon, because I play a Circle of Stars druid, get it?
Oh, okay. I get you. All right, yeah.
Just trying to stay in theme, you know?
But yeah, so our next topic, all right, or should I say our final topic for today, is I want to give you guys, this is sort of a not quite session 0 or a session 0.5 for the Warp Tumblers C24 game. Now, you guys are definitely in a tavern, and I ended the last game with someone making a toast, all right? Did you guys do any research on that trope, by the way?
I didn't.
Toast trope, you mean?
That would be no. Okay. The toasting trope? No, I don't. What are you getting at, you crazy, sinister man in purple? P.S. Do you have a shirt that isn't a turtleneck? Yes, I do. So, this is a thing, all right? What I have set up is, I notice you guys are very, very talky and not very action. Yeah, and that's a thing. That is definitely a way to play. Where you guys are can be a very talky place. Okay. So this is a deal. All right. What I did, and I have to say this because you guys need a little help with it, and instead of letting it unfold and take forever and possibly lose interest of people watching and stuff like that, there are rules in this bar. You guys are killing me in the chat. It's just seriously. Yeah. One of the rules is when someone makes a toast, everyone listens.
That's right. I remember that part.
Right.
And the second part is if the person wants help, whoever can must.
So use the bathroom when someone asks for help. Got it.
Well, right now, you guys are patrons in the bar.
Right.
So that also means whoever gives a toast has to explain the toast, and everyone in the bar must listen.
Alrighty, well, since you're pulling my leg, hold on.
I'm not saying.
I actually have a book of toasts.
Oh, dear God.
Believe it or not. Because, and the reason is because I used to play the Queen at the Florida Renaissance Festival, and part of my job was to do the final toast at the end of the day. So
That's
I have
amazing.
a collection of many toasts. What would you like? Would you like an Irish toast?
Oh no,
Would you like...
okay, you're kind of missing
Oh
it.
my gosh.
And this is taken from a very popular science fiction series.
Trope, yes.
Okay? A very popular science fiction series. So the toast tends to have a story. And once they make the toast, when they want to tell the story, the whole bar shuts up and listens.
So the toast is the story, or the toast and then the story?
Well, in one of the stories, a woman gets up and she makes the toast to motherhood, and she throws her shot glass into the thing, and she then explains that through no fault or no actions of her own, she is immortal, and she is miserable, because though she is immortal, and though, well, she will live forever and she doesn't age. She is locked at 36 years old. However, she is still fertile, and she's already given birth to and watched the lives of 4 batches of kids over the past 300 years. And now she doesn't know what to do with her life, but she's afraid to commit suicide. Because she doesn't know if it'll work. So the toast is to motherhood because she's tired of watching her children and grandchildren die. And she has no idea what to do with her life. So the bar gets together, and the bar helps her come up with something to do with her life. That was just one of the myriad of short stories in this series. And no, I didn't tell you how it ended because you'll have to read it yourself. You know.
Dang.
But that is the basis of the bar that you're in.
Okay.
So this is me being super obvious as a GM. This would be a perfect time for backstory. This would be a perfect time to steer things in a direction that you want this game to go. Or to put this... You know what? I'm tired of talking white people language. It comes down to this. One of y'all are going to make a toast, or I will.
Oh. I see how it is. Dang.
I got this, guys. Let me have this.
Vivian's like, no, I got this. I got a book full of toasts. But wait, does that mean I have to come up with a story for each one? No. Just the one that you decide to say.
Yep. That's why I was looking at them like, I think I might have a couple that I can pull.
But now is the time to tell me, does that sound like an interesting place to take the campaign? For those of you new guys out there, this is what talking to your players looks like if you're a GM.
And if you're a player.
I mean, I'm down for some tavern fun.
I mean, yeah,
What could possibly go wrong?
It's a way to get backstory, but also it's a way to progress the mission that we're on.
Could you say that again? You're kind of fading in and out.
It's a way that we can progress the mission that we're on too. Even if we don't go full backstory, we can be like, hey, we're looking for this guy.
Yes.
Toast.
Hey, I'm looking for a dude. Looking for a dude. Toast.
Yes. Another.
Okay. So yeah, it's a thing. I've been playing with this idea for a few years because I like the rules of the bar. I like the setting of the bar. If you guys in the chat know which bar I'm talking about, Then send a cheer. Actually, send a cheer, and the name of the bar. All right, because yeah, it is a really big. Or actually, the name of the author. Yeah, send a cheer and the name of the author. Okay. Because yeah, it's again. I often tell people during the shows, if you guys have watched a lot of the shows, a really big thing from the school of GMing I come from is that you don't always have to make an original story. You just have to make a story that's original to your players. Because there's nothing new under the sun, or at least that's what King Solomon said in the Old Testament. So, if 4,000 years ago there was nothing new, then, there might not be anything new today outside of Wi-Fi and Twitter. And so that's really a thing. And Twitter isn't really new. It's just a sewing circle. That's really all that's going on there. So yeah, this has most definitely been fun. I would do a lot more with you guys tonight if I weren't slowly being cooked in my own blood and mucus. So
that just sounds so uncomfortable. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, it really is. It really is. Even my cameras are like, can we move? Oregon seems nice. Oregon seems, but where else sounds nice? Greenland. Greenland seems really cool right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finland is actually really cool. Like, I think they give people a year's worth of maternity leave. Right? That sounds amazing, right?
Does sound amazing. Next time I pee on a stick. Because, I have been kind of nauseous when I wake up in the morning.
It's 90 degrees in your house.
Huh?
That's just the fact that it's 90 degrees in your house. Believe me, it's 90 in mine too.
Oh, man. So let me roll out the red carpet to you guys. This camera, wrong internet show. Where can they find you guys? We'll start with Rowdy.
If you guys want to find me, Rowdy Rebecca Pena, you guys are going to have to go to the Book of Faces and search for Pamela Lillian Isley. I'm a Poison Ivy cosplayer, and I occasionally lion dance sometimes.
Nice.
Awesome. Let's just go clockwise. Viv, where can they find you?
So you can find me on Instagram mostly is where I'm most active at Vixie Belle Cosplay. You can also follow the Pocket Dragon at Pocket Dragon Pub on Instagram as well. And let's see, where else can you find me? I'm also on the Book of Faces under Vixie Belle and on Twitter as Vixie Belle, but I don't use Twitter that much because reasons. But yeah, so you can find me on any one of those things and check out my different cosplays. I'm a cosplayer, artist, and D&D nerd. So
fantastic. And finally, in the Paul Lynde Square.
Well, you can find me on most things at beaniest_bop and on Etsy where I sell resin dice under the shop name Fire Genasi in Disguise. And I'm going to be honest, I'm mostly on TikTok these days.
The Tiki and the Taki.
A little slow going because we're in production at work, but end of the month I'll be back in production. It'll be fine.
Yes. Oh, God. I'm on TikTok too, but I'm just not active at all. Me and my 4 posts. Take
Vix
that.
and I send each other TikToks all the time. It's great.
All the time. It's great.
Well, thank you guys.
Oh, man.
Thank you guys seriously for joining me today. This has been fun. Again, I did all the stuff that I should have done and wanted to do to run the game. And yeah, it was literally like, okay, I want to get this stuff done. All right, let's see. All right, where are the dice? Where are the dice? All right, got my dice. Where are those NPCs? Okay, got the NPCs. This is like, oh my God, I haven't felt this way since 1989. This is oh man, I should not be this hungover. I really shouldn't, especially since I don't drink. So yeah, I mean that's really a thing. But okay, guys, well, you can find me, back on the deck at gmail.com. It's BACKINTHEDECK at gmail.com. Y'all know the whole drill. I want to give a major shout out to my people in NP City. We've got Ox2, Alexis the Nexus, Alexandra, Anna Banana is coming down the stairs. It's Anna Banana. I don't know if she's coming down in pairs, but I know Anna Banana is chasing teddy bears. And of course, Commander Root, Power Commander, good to have you back. Sophia Fox, Anna Faye, it's Cameron 13. And of course, holding it down like gravity, Clever Lil Vixen. Thank you all. Now I am going to let you guys know that I will be back with the Dark Side of the Room and Hobby Hall when the temperature cools down, because again, I'm not exaggerating at all when I say that my camera or my cameras and my laptop are hot to the touch. Okay, I'm like, oh wow, I could have used this last year. I went to Burning Man and it was cold at 2 a.m. Major shouts to you guys out there watching that are just coming back from Burning Man, if you're watching from the future. And major shouts to the people who might be watching on the YouTubes. Hey YouTube, what's going on? That's right, I do dual casting, which is why Mr. Twitch loves to send a bunch of guys in ill-fitting suits with pieces of wood at certain widths and lengths to ask me why they don't have exclusive rights. And I'm like, yeah, I pay me enough. So with all that, I gotta say thank you. And if anybody tells you guys that you guys can't like what you like or can't have the hobbies you like because of the circumstances of your birth, you know what they tell you. You can just tell them to take any of them cards they're trying to pull on you and put them back in the deck. I'm Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you guys for joining us today for Warp Tumblers C24. And as much as I hate sounding like a patchouli stinking hippie at some festival that they think is spiritual, but they're really there to do psychotropic drugs and dance, no judgment, just be honest. Stay hydrated, take care of yourself, and figure out a way to beat that heat, y'all, all right? So thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you guys next time.